Well, I think the unique thing about the established markets is that you have fleets or retread customers, especially in the commercial truck and bus side, that have a much better understanding of retreading and the safety, reliability, the economic benefits. I think when we think about developed markets, we think about the education that needs to go into educating those users about the benefits of retreading. And even in the US, we still face customers or potential customers that have some of the myths and misconceptions about retreading. So even in those developed markets, we need to focus our own efforts on educating them about the benefits of retreading tires. I think, historically in the US, if you go back years, there were 12,000 retread plants, even in the US at one point. And right now we have about 650. And that consolidation has happened, but even with the reduction in the number of retread plants, the output has stayed the same. So you have just a continued increase in consolidation in big brands that are servicing big customers who understand the value of retreaded tires. Well, I think a lot of it has to do with education. So the other thing that you have to do to have a successful retreading program is you have to protect the tire and protect the casing itself. So in the US, for example, those big fleets know that they need to care for the casing. They need to pull it at the right point so it doesn't destroy the casing and it lets it be a good candidate to be retreaded. My limited experience in seeing operations in Asia and other developing markets is that you often have users that will run the tires down all the way to the end of their life, right? So where steel belts are showing or the plies are showing in a bias ply solution. So it's about educating those fleets and users that they have to care for this tire and the casing itself so it can be retreaded. I think that they're constantly thinking about it and exploring it. So if you think about the potential size of a market in India, for instance, those companies are constantly thinking about ways that they can break into that market. Because these are big global brands, Bridgestone, Goodyear, Michelin, from a U.S. perspective, and an Asian, and a Japanese, and a French companies as well. So they're looking at ways that they can get into those markets, but they just haven't been able to crack it yet. Well, so I think that from a U.S. perspective, retreading there's a lot of scale in the operations. So you have retread companies and plants that are doing anywhere from 100 to 200 tires a day to 1,000 tires a day. And there's a big investment in plant and operations and the latest equipment to make sure that those operations are efficient from a cost standpoint, but also providing a quality product. And if you compare that to some of the other markets where you have very small operations, as we heard earlier today in the sessions, that some individual retread shops are just producing between 2 and 4 tires a day. You have to achieve a certain scale or create that scale as a big retread manufacturer to make that market attractive for them. Yeah, I think we advocated for protection of the U.S. truck and bus tire industry in the U.S. because we saw that the Chinese tires, truck and bus tires, were being unfairly subsidized by the Chinese government. And they were being sold in the U.S. often at lower than the cost of raw materials. And in an ideal world, we would want all of the Chinese tires to come in at a certain quality so that they could be retreaded multiple times. So it's not a buy this tire, use it once, and then it goes into landfill, or maybe it might get recycled. So we felt like we had to do something to try and protect the retread industry in the U.S. Because of those unfair subsidies. But ideally, we would have, at some point in the future, a world where those tires were good enough quality to be retreaded multiple times, just like we have with other tire manufacturers that are being used in the US, and they're priced fairly with all of the costs that go into the production of a tire. I think retreaders themselves, if they're talking about, tariffs between 10 and 25%, which the 25% will come into effect at the beginning of 2019.
25% on the cheap imported tires from China?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, yes. So once that 25% tariff comes in place, I think it'll have a significant impact on retreaders in the US. I think there's going to be, there's already a fair amount of consolidation, but I think the big companies will continue to have some consolidation. We're starting to see again some investment in plants, in new plants opening up, which hasn't happened for a while. So it's good to see investments in technology, investments in new plants, new players coming into the market, as I talked about in the presentation, some of the trucking companies that are getting involved in this. I think there will be continued push to automate the process more, so investing in robotic or other technology that allows for greater automation to increase the efficiency and reduce costs.